All right, everybody, thank you very much for your patience. And my name is Wes McDonald. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Print Audit. And also on the call, we have Paul Georgi, who's our Senior Customer Success Manager. And we also have Angela Onstein from our Marketing Department. And we want to thank you very much for taking time out of what is obviously very busy schedules to learn more about Print Audit Insight. So a little housekeeping before we get started. The call will be muted during the presentation, and what we encourage you to do is ask your questions by entering them into the questions dialog box, which you will see in probably the right-hand side of your screen. We will attend to those questions at the end of the webinar. So again, we will be on mute. Please make sure to type in your questions. We will record them and attend to those at the end of the session. So to get things started, Print Audit Insight is business intelligence dashboards for premium members. And as you're going to learn, business intelligence has become a very large part of the business world as a whole. We may be the first in the managed print space to deliver on it, but certainly nothing new to the industry. So what is business intelligence? Well, firstly, Gartner says that BI and analytics are going to really be powerful in disrupting things in our business in 2015 and beyond. And what that looks like by 2017 is that most data discovery tools will have some kind of elements of BI or smart discovery capabilities to start making analysis and assessments much more interactive than they are today. So think of the traditional reporting engines that we have, and those are certainly going the way of the dodo. Translation is how coming. Well, I don't think so, but certainly the way that we present data to our customers is going to become much more interactive and much more intelligent as time goes by. And as we move to the next slide, maybe we can look at a definition of what business intelligence is in the marketplace. So I grabbed this one from CIO.com, and basically it says that business intelligence, or BI, is really just an umbrella term that refers to a variety of software applications used to analyze an organization's raw data. As a discipline, it's made up of several related activities, including data mining, online analytical processing, querying, and reporting. And there's some key things that are in there, obviously, that it's online, that it's mining data sets, and that it's actually analyzing those data sets to bring some kind of visibility to some raw statistics. So on the next slide, why not just use reports? Many of those that have been in the MPS industry as long as I have, or longer, in the last 13 years, have become very accustomed to CSV files. So getting information based on device data, CSV file loads up, and you use that in some way to start building some kind of assessment. It's quite a laborious process, and it only really covers one set of data. And what's happened in the managed print world is that we've had an explosion of data. And as you see, as we look at this, you're going to see that different data sets start to arise, be it a CSV file, be it a SQL database, be it an Oracle database, or something else. And the types of data that we're looking at go far beyond the traditional device data of early managed print. We've now added user data to the pile, so looking at what users are doing and what their print behavior looks like, and drilling down even further to look at document data. What types of documents are they printing? How often are they printing them? How much waste is there, et cetera? And what happens is now in modern managed print, I've been doing assessments for over 6 years, and tying all of these data sets together has been very difficult. It's been kind of a tangled mess as you try and get something ready for the customer, if you're trying to use those additional data sets at all. Most people I speak with have really stuck to doing their assessments using just the device data because it's too tricky, to incorporate any other sets like user data or document data. So let's move on to the next slide. Again, why not just using reports? Well, the big thing I would say is that most data sets don't integrate on their own. So if you're dealing with data sets from multiple sources, such as I mentioned earlier with CSV files, SQL databases, any Oracle information, SAP, and a host of other ways that we can get data, marrying that is a very difficult and manual process. And I can tell you from conducting assessments over the last 6 or so years, that was the part of the assessment I hated the most, was actually trying to make sense of all these, different data sets, right? So as we move on to the next slide and look at the typical assessment workflow, and this is from my own experience, and you may have your own, it can feel a bit like we're a hamster in a wheel as we move through the process. The first thing we do is gather the data. If we're doing that through a physical walkthrough using some of the industry, leading tools that are in the marketplace, like, Newfield's Asset DB or some others that you might have seen. We run reports. So if you're using our software, you would run some reports from Facilities Manager or Print Audit 6, and then you would spend hours or days making it presentable so that you actually have a story to tell at the, the customer location. So once we've done that, we feel pretty good, and we go to the customer site and we actually present that information. They nod their head, they look around, they take notes, and then they say, great, if you could bring that information back to us now and clarify some points. So we'd like to know more about these 10 different data points that you brought up in your presentation. So we take that and we go back to the office and we run more reports so that we can clarify on this. And hopefully we have the information. And we try and run those reports, tie that back into some additional assessment data, and we repeat, repeat, repeat until the customer is satisfied with the information sets. So it's become kind of a necessary part of assessment selling, but it's very difficult. What happens once we start to look at business intelligence dashboards, not only are they easier to construct than a typical assessment, but they're much more interactive. So whenever we're at a customer location, we're really trying to talk about their, managed print services story. What are they doing? Where are their inefficiencies for, not just their devices, but their users and the types of documents, that they're handling. Once we start to think about telling their story using a business intelligence dashboard, we can drill down on the fly. So a lot of those things that we were talking about before in the manual, process with doing reports, we can do that on the fly now. If they ask a question about a particular data set, as you'll see in the demo, we can actually drill in for, clarification on the spot. It's better at providing holistic intelligence. So the way that we've built the dashboard is that it looks at the device, user, and document data all on the same page. So you can actually compare and contrast data sets from each of the columns to be able to make much more sense and tell their story. It allows for, a lot less show and more share. And that's the great thing that I've experienced with dashboarding, is that you're really sharing information as opposed to trying to, just give them a static report. And that there's insight on request. And I can't say enough about that, how powerful it is when a customer asks a question about a data point, and we can drill down and give them additional information right there, on the spot, right? And this certainly shortens the sales cycle. So once we're using a dashboarding system, instead of having to go back to the office, schedule another meeting, when everyone's calendars hopefully line up in the next 2 weeks, we can do it right there and try and get as much clarification done, on the spot. So what about Insight? So now that we know a little bit about dashboarding as a rule, well, Insight is an interactive business intelligence dashboard for managed print. So we're not reinventing the wheel, we're just making sure that we're applying it now to the managed print services space. And we've created 3 different views for our Premier members. One is what we call instant assessment, and that marries all of the device information, all of the document data, and all of the user data into one clean, centralized dashboard. The second view that we've created, and this is extremely powerful, is what we call market metrics. And we've done this in conjunction with InfoTrends. And what we do is we look at a Premier member's existing footprint in the managed print services world based on data that they provide. And then we compare that to the market at large with information which is provided by InfoTrends. So as you'll see when we go through the demo, you'll get a really powerful view of how, what your footprint actually looks like compared to the opportunities out there. And NPS readiness. One of the most difficult things that we've seen and heard from our members is the ability to do auto toner fulfillment and to do it successfully. And so we've actually got an NPS readiness view in the dashboard, which will show you exactly how an environment rates for auto toner fulfillment. So what I'm going to do is start to show you why. So if we continue to look at this and drill in a little further, obviously making sense of data is difficult. And anyone that's done an assessment, either a simple one or a complex one, knows that. And interactive dashboards versus static reports, anyone that we've shown this to ahead of time has been completely blown away by the difference between looking at a dashboard view and working with that versus, typical static reports. And we can dive deeper to drive more meaning. And the more meaning that we can drive, the closer we get to, finishing a sales cycle. And we'll sell more by getting more out of the data, actually earning the customer's trust in that we really do understand their environment like none of the other, competitors that might be bidding on their business as well. So knowing all this, when we look at the next slide, who gets it? Well, in the print audit world, Insight is available right now to Premier members in North America. And I did put for now in brackets because we will be looking at expansion into our global markets for this as well, with an ETA that's to be announced. So existing and future Premier members will have access to Insight as part of the standard Premier subscription. So I do know that there's a lot of Premier members that are on the call today, so this is available to you right away. And for those that are looking at print audit, this is a standard part of what we offer in our package. It's not an additional cost, which is really important to understand. So now that we know who gets it, let's have a quick peek. What you're looking at here is a screenshot actually of one of the dashboards for the instant assessment. And as you can see very clearly at the top, we've got things sorted out by device data, also looking at user data, and looking at document data. And the nice thing about having all of this on the same page and being able to compare and contrast information across the screen is that we can start to tell a story about the customer's environment. And they can start to share insights with us about different data sets that exist in each of these and how they relate. And it also allows us the capability to drill down even further into the information sets. The second dashboard that we're going to look at is market metrics. And you can see here that there's a heat map at the top, which shows actual densities of opportunities in different areas. And then it drills down further below to actually compare what the Premier members' footprint is against the the market at large. So Paul, when he takes us through that, is going to drill into the information a little bit further. And the third dashboard that we've created is the NPS readiness report. And because I've worked with so many dealers over the years trying to help them with customer environments and auto toner fulfillment, this one's golden. And it's golden in the sense that it helps you as a dealer right up front to understand which portion of the fleet is NPS ready and to look at opportunities should the customer want the entire fleet to be ready for auto toner fulfillment. So an extremely powerful dashboard. And if we move over to the next slide, we're going to get into a demo. So I'd like to introduce you to Paul Georgi. Many of you on the call, either current print audit customers or others that have worked with Paul over the years, understand just how much expertise this guy has with understanding data sets. Paul Georgi has been paramount, along with James Hills, an organization, in helping to put this information together and help us to get on track. So I'm very happy and very proud to have Paul on the team and to be able to present the data to you today. So Paul, without further ado, maybe you can actually go in and let's look at building a demo for everyone on the call.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Wes. And thanks everyone for attending today's webinar. So I'm going to take you in through the first dashboard here, and this is where we've combined our Facilities Manager and our Print Audit 6 data to come up with a comprehensive package to understand what's going on in a user's environment. And this is what we call our one-click assessment or instant assessment, if you wish. What we've done is we've taken the data sets and we've broken it down into the various columns, which are device, user, and document data. And we've got some very interesting information, and I'll just take you through a couple of different various information data sets. The one thing you'll notice here is that this is a pretty significant data environment. You're looking at about 7,900 users, and they're printing off just about 1.7 million documents, so it's a pretty sizable one. But what I notice here is one thing, is that 14% of their output are jobs over 50 pages. And if anyone's been on any of my presentations or training sessions, you'll know that large-size jobs to small-size printers is always an issue. But we don't know in this case what is going on. So let's drill into this. And as you can see, as I click in and drill into this large-size jobs, all the tiles update. So now we know that, hey, not every single user is printing jobs over 50 pages. In fact, out of the 7,900, only 1,200 users have. But the one thing you'll notice here is that 12% of the output is in color. 80,000 pages of that is in color. And if we scroll down a little bit more, you'll notice too, and I don't know if I've got it set up here, is that only 8% of this volume over 50 pages was duplexed. So if I wanted to half the 567,000 pages, and here I'll just double click in so we've got a double filter going on, you'll notice that I could easily say to this customer, listen, Mr. Customer, we can eliminate, or we can half over 500,000 pages of what you've printed in this organization by simply putting in a rule to duplex print jobs over 50 pages. It's pretty valuable, and it's a great way of presenting this information. And that's just one of the things that we can do. As you can see here on the document columns, we've also got the most reprinted documents. And the one thing you'll notice here in the top 10 is Microsoft Outlook. And that's always a problem. And let me just clear off the filters that I've done, and I'll take you through that one application, because this is very, very powerful, especially if you have a customer who is using, let's say, Outlook for printing or Outlook for email. So I'm focusing in on that one particular application, and as you can see here on this tile where my mouse is hovering over, we're actually showing the printers that this information is going to. If I scroll up here again, we also notice who the top 10 users are who are printing off emails in color. I also can tell that 25% of the output of Outlook is going to locally connected devices, and so on and so forth. So the data, as you can see, is pretty comprehensive and pretty interactive. In this case here, I can go back to this customer and say, listen, Mr. Customer, I think you have a problem with email, and here's why I'm saying this. 4,100 users printed off 207,000 emails. By the way, did you know that 17% or 58,000 pages of those emails were printed in color? So there you go. There's another reason for, or another proof that this customer could use something like rules-based printing to say, anytime you print from Outlook, it needs to be in black and white. You can eliminate almost 60,000 pages in color. And again, because this is a multi-data set tool and is very interactive, we can do other things than just looking at user and device and document data. Here is the market metrics data, and again, what we've got is we've got install base by region, which is broken down as well by vertical of what is actually going on in a marketplace. So according to InfoTrends, and here I'll just show you a good one, according to InfoTrends data, there's over 1 million printed devices in the Philadelphia region. Now this is a general region, it's not the actual city, so we're talking about, you know, the greater Philadelphia area as well as Philadelphia local. What we then do is we then benchmark the marketplace data against devices that are being monitored in Facilities Manager. So as you can see over here on the left, I've got every city in Pennsylvania, and I'm showing things like this. So here's one, Lebanon, Pennsylvania. According to InfoTrends, the install base is about 20,000 devices. Me as a dealer, I've only got about 400. So right now my market share is about 3.9%, or just under 4% in that region. What I'll be able to do is I'll be able to break this down to vertical. So where am I good in? Am I good in education? What's the education marketplace look like? Do I have that taken over? Is there opportunities for me to grow? Where can I grow as a business in this type of environment? We also break down what we call in Facilities Manager the competitive analysis. So in this case here, I notice that I'm not managing about 17 or just over 7,000 devices, but I have got under contract about 5,900. So that means that I've got about 55% of my devices are unmanaged. And with that unmanaged, we can also take a look at the volumes. So here's one for you. Even though I'm only managing about 45% of the devices, I am getting 67% of the volume, but I've also got 33% of the print volume that is unmanaged. That's going to either devices that are not under contract or competitive devices. So what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to focus in, find those unmanaged pages in my customer verticals and say, okay, how do I focus that? So this allows us a couple of different strategies looking at it as an office equipment dealer as a whole. One is, how am I doing in my marketplace? The other one is, within my current marketplace, where's opportunities to grow my current customer base? So this is a great way of looking at the data set. And again, thanks to InfoTrends, we really have some fantastic data out there. Finally, the NPS readiness report. Now, if any one of you has been on our previous webinars or has looked at some of our news releases, what we've done is we've come up with a classification scale on printers and printer models. That is a 1 to 5 rating, and if you're interested in knowing more about that rating, simply call our office at 877-412-8348. Ask for sales or your premier customer success manager, and we can provide you with a guide on how that rating is. This is a great one if you think about your current customers where you don't have the opportunity just yet to go in and talk about a user-based assessment, or maybe it's a brand new customer and the first thing you want to do is get a handle on the devices. So the NPS readiness rating classifies all devices in a 1 to 5 scale. In this case here, we can take a quick snapshot of what's going on within a customer, and then we can drill in. So in this customer here, you'll notice that 66% of the devices are Lexmark. I got about 32 that are Savin, and then I got a whole bunch of smattering of other smaller printers. The other thing I've got is the device function breakdown. How much is copy volume? How much is print? How much is scan and fax? And of course, the toner levels, which is really, really key. In this case here, a majority of the devices do support a toner level, but there's still a bunch of devices there that do not. So in this case here, if I was going into a customer and the customer says, listen, I want, a 4-hour SLA, I can go through here, do a quick analysis and say to this customer, well, listen, if I drill into this, I notice that 630 devices that you're currently having have an NPS rating of 1. And that's pretty key. So what I can do with this, I can go back to the customer and say, listen, I'd be more than happy to sign a contract with you to get you into a 4-hour SLA, but these here devices, we've done an analysis with our system, and we're showing them not very robust, and they do not rate very high. So perhaps we should look at getting rid of them and replacing them with devices that have a better rating on them. That'll provide you guys with greater information to be able to do things like a days remaining toner alert from our system and be able to provide a proactive toner and service supply system with those individual customers. The other thing you'll notice, and I'm just going to clear this filter out, is this is also a great stepping point to talk to a customer about a user analysis. So I can go back to this customer and say, hey, listen, Mr. Customer, I understand you got 32% of your devices are, let's say, an MFP, but what I also notice is only 17% of the volume that you're doing is copy. Do you really need that many MFPs, or do you need some printers that are pretty high? When I'm looking at this and you're doing 79% of your volume is print, maybe we should look at understanding what your users are printing and how they're printing it. Or maybe we need to understand why 17% is copy when you guys are doing nothing but print. What are people doing? How big are those jobs? Do the current devices that you have fit your workflow? Let's do a user analysis study and let's understand what is actually going on in your environment. These are 3 very key areas. And again, we talk about where we can grow in our marketplace, where we can grow with our current customer base, how to analyze the devices that we currently have, give it a classification to say, yes, we can meet your service level agreements, or no, we can't, we need to replace those devices. And of course, a user-based assessment to give you insight into where those jobs are going, what type of documents end users are printing, how much it's actually costing, and the breakdown between color and black and white from each individual job, individual user.
Great. And Paul, I want to thank you very much for going through the demo of the actual dashboards. So everything that Paul was showing you was an actual live deep dive into the dashboard information. So I'll just remind everyone, we're going to get to question period in a moment, and certainly keep your questions coming. There is a question dialog box in which you can enter your questions on the right-hand side of your screen likely. And what's next? Well, for existing Premier members, just make sure you get in touch with your customer success manager. So if that's Paul Georgie or someone else at our organization, they'll be quite happy to help you get started on how to create any of these 3 dashboards. And if you're not a Premier member already, obviously, make sure that you do get in touch with Print Audit so you can learn more about not only the Insight dashboards, but some of the other Print Audit firsts that we're bringing to Marketplace in 2015. And that's kind of how we get started. As an attendee bonus, what we are going to offer to not only our Premier members, but to every single person who has taken time out of their day to be part of this call today, is that we're going to provide you with a complimentary customer workflow analysis with Dashboard View. So for the instant assessment dashboard that you've seen, you can contact somebody at Print Audit, either Paul Georgie or myself, and we will work with you to figure out how we can actually help you to create a sample dashboard with some of your real customer information. So you can get a feel for yourself with your real customer data, just how powerful this is, in the assessment process. So on the next slide. All right, so we're going to enter the question period at this point. I'm going to introduce Angela Onstein from our marketing department, who is going to start asking some of the questions, and she'll field them, and either myself or Paul Georgie will be able to answer them. So Angela, without further ado.
Thank you, Wes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We do have a few questions. The first one is, what tools can I use to gather user information?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And obviously, because this is a Premier member tool, the only data sets that this tool will accept today are from the Print Audit tool sets. So for the device data from Facilities Manager, and for any of the user and document level data, that has to come from our PA6 product line.
Great, thank you. Another question is, can we get access to this without being a Print Audit customer?
Well, there's good news and bad news, and the bad news is not really. The good news is, like we said, we will offer you a complimentary dashboard for the instant assessment, and certainly, as a lot of our Premier members will tell you, we're quite happy to talk to you about how you can, start within the program yourself.
Thanks, Wes. The market data, can we pay for that?
Yeah, unfortunately, not through us, but we will say that our friends at InfoTrends actually have a service for those that are not Premier members, which do offer consultative services for doing market data analysis. That is a paid service. You can certainly contact InfoTrends. We have the correct contacts if you want them, but only for Premier members is that included with our membership at no additional charge.
And how many devices do you have in MPS readiness rating?
That's a good question. I'll turn that one over to Paul because I know he's more connected with that data set.
So the MPS readiness rating classifies just over 4,000 makes and models of devices. So we've got quite a bit of scanning. As you know, we're tracking well over 1 million devices on our Facilities Manager system. So by analyzing just the manufacturer and the model of device and the behavior of those devices, that's how we've broken down that scale. Now the scale is a 1 to 5, and again what we'll do is we will provide everyone who's on the call today with a copy of that rating system. If there is a customer that you are monitoring on Facilities Manager that you'd like to do an MPS readiness dashboard with, simply call us and we can set it up.
Great, thanks, Paul. Is Insight available for download for Premier members?
Yeah, probably some confusion around how dashboarding works. So it's not really a downloadable piece. What happens is Premier members will work with us. They'll send us the required data sets, and we'll actually build a dashboard which is available online. So unlike, I guess, traditional reporting software, which may be, kind of a download and you build stuff and put out a PowerPoint, this is actually a living dashboard. So it will be provided the information once it's complete through a web URL.
Okay, is there a limit on how many assessments I can do with Insight?
No, there's not. you will work with Paul Georgie or one of our other customer success managers to be able to start working on as many assessments as you think are going to help your business.
Great. Is this like IBM Watson?
Someone's got a sense of humor, so IBM Watson is definitely a big name in sort of the analytics and more on the artificial intelligence side. And certainly this is a step in that direction for managed print, but instead of using artificial intelligence to tie the data sets together, we're using print audit tools and the magic mind of Paul Georgie.
Paul, this one might be for you. I've logged into my Insight account, but I don't see the map functions.
So the map functions haven't been set up for every single Premier member as of yet. We are doing it on sort of a request by request basis. So what we'll do is over the next couple of weeks we will be setting these up where you will have the access, each Premier member will have access to the market metrics. Now, just so everyone knows, the market metrics is based on InfoTrends data, and InfoTrends only has data for the US at this point.
Thank you, Paul. I believe you already answered this, but let's just go over it. What is the NPS rating dial mean overall?
So what we do is we've broken it down by toner classification. As some of you, or most of you, in fact all of you should know, not every device reports toner in the same type of information. So let's take an example of a device that says toner is okay, low, or empty. That we've rated as a classification of a 1 or a 2. But if you have a device that has a toner where it's a percent level and it's dropping it down in increments of 1% and it goes all the way down to 0, that is where our facilities manager program can calculate out what's called a days remaining alert. So we can actually tell you how many days are left in that toner cartridge. With the ability to do that, we've rated those types of devices very high at a 4 or greater reporting level. So that's just an example. We've got a much more detailed report that we'll be supplying with you guys after the call.
Thank you, Paul. Is there a default cost, and is it customized with customer costs?
So at the moment with the Print Audit 6 software and the way Insight works, we set it that if we don't have the cost from the customer, we set it at a default 10 cents, black and white in color, but we can easily change that to whatever it needs to be. Once the cost...
We've actually, and I'll just kick in there.
Sorry.
We've created in the CSV file for that portion of data to be able to have the dealers actually put in more granular costs if that's what's required.
Okay, thank you. What is involved with rolling this out to current PA customers?
So within the Print Audit 6 system, there is a way you can do a database extraction, which is called a JBS file. Through what's called the Job Merge Wizard within the application, you can send the data file to us, and we can load it up into Insight and be able to provide you with that access. And I will tell you that the turnaround on that is fairly quick. It's well under 4 hours at this point.
Okay, a few more questions here. Can we set up new data sets in Insight ourselves, or are we still exporting our TS files and emailing them to our sales rep?
So right now it is still an import-export. Eventually we'd like to get it to a point where where Premier members have the ability to create their own, but I think that's still a far long off goal at this point.
Okay. How do you identify the location of your current managed devices? Is it by its IP address?
So within Facilities Manager, there is 2 buttons that you can use. One is a tracking level, and the other one is managed or unmanaged. Now, the managed or unmanaged button is the classification. With Premier members, they can literally monitor every single device that they've got in their customer base without any cost impact. And what they can do from there is, even on competitive devices, you can set it up on a tracking level and designate those as unmanaged. As long as you are clear on the definition of managed versus unmanaged within your organization and within your structure and Facilities Manager, the reporting will flow through automatically.
Thank you. And our last question is, will the Print Audit 6 software for user tracking and job tracking be moving to a server-based solution instead of the current model where software needs to be installed on each PC?
Yeah, so I guess I could field that one. So we are currently in the midst of developing something we're very proud of, which is Print Audit 7. And certainly we'll reserve the questions for architecture. You can deal with me personally, and that's Wes McDonald, and I certainly look forward to having that discussion with you about what's going to be new in Print Audit 7. But for now, we're keeping that under the hood as a public statement. Well, I want to personally thank everyone that's taken the time to be on the call today. I think for Print Audit, this has been one of our highest attended sessions, which means it's obviously very important for the marketplace. I encourage you to take us up on getting your sample dashboard built for your instant assessment so you can have a closer look, a more personal look at how it works. And I also encourage you to think about some of the other things that Print Audit is doing in the marketplace as first. We have released an ebook for per-seat billing for those that are interested in that mechanism. And we also have the Top 100 Summit, which we're sponsoring and putting together, which is happening in September, which you can also reach out to me for. This event has been recorded, so we'll be making sure that everyone does get a copy for the link. And once again, I just want to thank you very much for taking the time to share what we're very excited about in the new Insight dashboards.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.